Welcome, everybody, to our podcast, First Raitt Law. I'm Bobby Raitt, and together with Tom James, we are co-hosting this podcast, and this is bittersweet for us because of this 12-episode series. This is number 12. We're going to use this as an opportunity to talk to you a little bit, really in summation of what we've been talking a little bit about in most of the episodes, and that is, we know, Tom and I know from doing this for a long time, what makes a good personal injury attorney, what makes a good trial attorney, what makes a good law firm. And I can talk a little bit about why Tom and I together are a great team. But in general, Tom and I feel very strongly that you can't go wrong with our law firm. You are getting the best bang for your buck with our law firm. You are getting over 50 plus years of experience with our law firm. And quite frankly, you're getting a law firm that includes two attorneys. That's it. A lot of people say, why do you want to be so small? The reason we want to be so small is because what we've learned is if you don't have a personal touch, if you don't communicate with your clients on a regular basis, you're not doing your job. You're not doing your clients any favors. Tom and I are experts at that. With our experience, we have learned so much about how to practice law the right way, and you're getting that benefit too. So we're going to use this episode as an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what we do at Raitt Law, about our experience, and about why Raitt Law is the right choice for you. If you ever find yourself injured in any type of accident, really, we handle auto accidents, truck accidents, motorcycle accidents, dog bites, construction site accidents, falls, anything on a premises. It's called premises liability law. If you're injured, we handle all those areas of law. And the other thing that's nice is because we've been in the practice for so long, we know a lot of attorneys that perhaps are not personal injury attorneys. Maybe you need a divorce attorney. Maybe you need an employment attorney, an immigration attorney, right? We know these people. So we're going to talk to you a lot about what we do. We're going to give you our information repeatedly as we did throughout the episodes. You can always call us at 866-RAITT, R-A-I-T-T, law. You can go to our website, www.raitt, First Raitt Law, and get us and answer us and ask us any question, really. I mean, not just our clients have that information, but those people that may have questions. And maybe it's that you don't have a case, and maybe we explain why, and maybe we apologize, but we give you the information that makes it a successful call. So just reach out to us. And I'm looking forward to this episode because I love talking about this law firm that I created. I love the fact that Tom joined me, and I think as a team, we're the best out there.
Yeah, I agree, right? Obviously, right? Well, obviously we're the best out there, but no, I mean, in all seriousness, one of the nice perspectives that I think we both have in having come from a very large firm, right? And I consider any firm to be large in the personal injury space if they have more than 30 attorneys. Right, 30 attorneys practicing in personal injury is a huge firm. And so, but what happens in those scenarios or in those firms is that they start looking for ways to be more efficient with their customer contact. Now, that's code for you don't get to talk to your attorneys. Right. That's code for where you might get a case manager and not the nurse case manager that we're talking about. Right. Nurse case manager are much different. That's on the medical side of things. I'm talking about a case manager at the law firm. And that's generally not a person that's even a paralegal. That'll handle most of the communication. And we're not comfortable with that. I mean, obviously, when you work with us, you will talk to our paralegal, you'll talk to our office manager, you'll talk to our secretary, our legal assistant. But I'm going to tell you, at least 90% of the communication, if not 95% of the communication, is going to be with Bobby or me. Now, we're not giving out our cell phone numbers on this podcast, but one of the first things that we do when we meet with you and we have that initial meeting and we start talking about your case, we start talking about you and your family and the impact on your family, the injuries, all of that stuff. We give you our cell phone number and we welcome you to use it. And I maybe, and just as a frame of reference, I get probably 1 to 2 phone calls a week on my office line from our clients. I get anywhere from 10 to 20 phone calls a day on my cell phone. So that is not a personal touch you're going to get from any of these large law firms that you see putting on these large commercials, these great commercials. I love their commercials too. They're funny as all get out for me. Even the billboards, right? You see the guys on the billboards, win big here, win big there, all of that other stuff. But I dare you to ask any one of their former clients if they've ever spoken to the face they see up there. They don't. They get to speak to a case manager, and you'll never have to experience that with us.
Yeah, that is something I pride myself on. That is something I always wanted with a law firm. And, you've probably learned if you've watched our other podcasts, Tom and I came from another law firm. We worked together for 15 years. And quite frankly, when I went out, I had a goal to do everything the way I thought it should be done. And while I did learn some good things at that law firm, I learned some things that I did not want to do in any way, shape, or form. First and foremost, I thought it was so important to stay fairly small and personal. Secondly, I thought as part of that and part of my goal is constant communication, constant updates both ways. My clients calling us or emailing us to tell us what's going on with them in their case and their medical condition and their disability. Well, us calling them as well to tell them what's going on with their case, to see if they have any questions. The worst thing that could happen, and I'll talk to you a little bit about Tom's circumstance, but the worst thing that can happen is you have so many cases and you have so little ability to know those cases the way you need to, that a client feels like, hey, I just don't know what's going on with my case. I don't think they're doing right. I don't think that this is the law firm for me. That's the worst that can happen. And I can tell you, I feel a dozen of those calls a year from other people's clients. I haven't heard from my attorney. I have no idea who my attorney is. I've just gotten this one letter and it seems like it's a paralegal, or like Tom said, a case manager that brings the case in and then oversees it, right? I never want that to happen. I don't want that to happen to my clients. If my clients want to leave me, I do not want to be shocked. I want to know that we've had a problem for one reason or another, and I suspected they weren't happy. And if that's the case, that's the case. But it should never be because they don't know who their attorney is. They haven't heard from their attorney. They do not have the ability to get to their attorney. And like I tell everyone that's our clients, use our cell phones. I implore you to use our cell phones and get in touch with us. So, when I left the old firm and I came and I formed Raitt Law in 2021, I had a young attorney with me. I had my wife, who's my office manager, and I had a paralegal who actually was an attorney who decided she didn't want to practice any longer. And we were a great team. And in I don't know, late 2024, for various reasons, I had to let that young attorney go. And I thought to myself, I need an attorney that I can trust. I need an attorney that I don't need to train. I need, most important, to have an attorney with the experience and the care for the clients that I won't have to ever worry that there's any of these problems that I could be worried about otherwise. And that was Tom James. But he came from a firm, and he can talk.
Shoot, I was going to ask, who is that guy?
That's you. That's you, my man. So, and he came from a firm that's a very good firm. But he will tell you he was overseeing over 400 cases and 7 other personnel or employees. It's not manageable. It's not doable the right way. And at Raitt Law, it's done the right way on that aspect. And it's the most important thing to clients is that they know what's going on with their cases and that they have access to their attorneys. The second most important thing to clients should be the type of attorney you have as your attorney. And what I mean by that is, do they know what they're doing? And with Tom and I, over 50 plus years of experience combined, you have trial attorneys, you have respected attorneys, you have experienced attorneys, both in the legal realm, actually handling cases, but also, I said it on other podcasts, I was president in 2007, 2008 of the Trial Lawyers Organization, which is thousands of attorneys across the state that practice in negligence. I was also chairman of the State Bar Negligence Section, which is both plaintiff attorneys like ourselves and defense attorneys who represent insurance companies and businesses in the same group. And that board was chaired by me, I think it was in 2018. You might have heard that gave me an opportunity to go speak in Lansing on issues of insurance. And on top of all of that, I've stayed involved in various groups, whether it's the Detroit Bar Association, which I was on their board. I'm on the board presently of the alternative dispute resolution section of the state bar. I sit on Wayne County's mediation tribunal board, which is the board that governs and oversees all the case evaluations throughout the county of Wayne. And I've stayed active and I've stayed involved in these organizations. And all the while, I made sure I knew one thing that was very important. Don't just stay active, but learn your craft and make sure you're an expert in your craft. So I've tried dozens of cases. I've gotten very, very favorable verdicts. Yes, we've talked about losses. You're going to get losses. And if anyone that tries cases tells you differently, they're lying to you. But we've learned from those losses and we've had great victories. We've also learned that if we do our job and the other side, meaning the insurance industry, the adjusters, the defense attorneys, those that are evaluating the case, if they respect us, we might not even have to file a lawsuit because they're going to know if we do, we're going to kick their butt. And so many times, I always said about 75% of the time, maybe it's even a little more than that, we do not have to file suits on your case. We do not have to file a lawsuit. Like so many clients come, I really don't want to file a lawsuit. I'm not the type of person to file a lawsuit. Are you going to file a lawsuit? Probably not. If we have to, though, we do, and we do it well. So that experience, that reputation throughout the legal community, not just attorneys, judges. I get referrals from judges. I get referrals from doctors. We get referrals from all types of people because they know we're going to do right by their clients, by their friends, by their patients, because we have a proven track record. That's what you get at Raitt Law with the kind of experience we both have.
Right. You know, one other thing, and I don't think we've even mentioned this issue yet in any of the podcasts. So this is new. It's fresh. You're getting it in episode 12.
I'm scared to see what this is, but go ahead.
No, this is a good one. This is a good one.
Okay,
it was
good.
worth the wait. It was worth the wait. No, in all seriousness, is privacy important to you? Well, who isn't privacy important to, right? Especially with all the online stuff that we're getting baited by scammers. You know, people are trying to make us click on these weird links telling us that our bank's going to close our account, whatever it is, right? And they're trying to take our data, steal our data. Well, I know for a fact that other law firms utilize other services to review your medical records. Some of these other services are here in the US. Some of them are in Argentina. Some of them are in Brazil. And there's a number of these consulting companies that are pitching law firms in the state right now. Hey, we can review your clients' records. We can summarize them. We'll do it all for you at $10 an hour, which is an amazing steal, right? And so they're offering these services, but your records get sent off to Argentina, right? Or, some other country being reviewed by some other person. And I can tell you that will never happen here at Raitt Law. That will never happen here at Raitt Law. Your medical records are reviewed by Bobby. Your medical records are reviewed by me. Your records are reviewed by our paralegal. And everyone's here in-house. I mean, our offices are right next to each other. So yeah, that is a recent development that has started in the last couple of years that's caused me a lot of concern and over your privacy. I mean, let's remember what's in your medical records, right? Your social security number, your address, your name, your medical history, everything. And when you sign that agreement where you're hiring an attorney, read every paragraph, because you're going to run into one line that might say something like, we utilize third parties to help review your case, or something like that, something along those lines. And that should be a clue. And you should ask that question. Or you could do the other thing, which is just call us. And we will always value your privacy. We will always protect your privacy while we're fighting for you, getting you the absolute highest award, the absolute highest settlement that we absolutely can. Yeah, that one's kind of new.
Right? No, and that's a good one. And it's not surprising it's coming from you, because let me tell you something else. Tom and I
It makes me crazy.
Tom and I had mentioned that we worked together for 15 years at the old firm, and I got to know him pretty well. And he is incredibly conscientious. He is incredibly hardworking. He's incredibly detailed, and he's a little bit paranoid. And I tell him all the time, one of the most well respected, intelligent, successful attorneys I had ever known was my father. And I could do nothing right because everything I did, he would say, "Really? That's how you want to do it?" Nothing was ever good enough. He was always thinking about the worst possible outcome, and he would try to be proactive to prevent that outcome. That's Tom. And it's a little tiring to oversee the firm. But I tell you what, as the owner of the firm, as the only other attorney in this firm, to have Tom running the show with my firm, you don't want anyone else. And you don't want anyone else representing you. I can tell you that the same client meeting I would have had before Tom showed up compared to after Tom showed up can't even be called the same type of meeting. Because before he showed up, there was a lot of basics, there was a lot of talk. We definitely met with all of our clients. Now it's almost like I have to pack an overnight bag, right, Tom? Because Tom explains everything in such great detail. And while I sitting there as a layperson, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I've heard this story." But as an attorney and as someone that cares about that same client, and as someone that wants to make sure that that client loves Raitt Law, I couldn't ask for anyone better to lead us. And the truth is, at the end of the day, you're not going to want for anything. You're not going to have any questions because what he does after that meeting is he follows it up with a half a dozen emails with a long, detailed explanation of anything you might have had a question on that meeting, whether it was the type of insurance benefits, whether it was what types of medical records we had to collect, whether it was your history that we had to confirm, giving you suggestions on what to do. Now, one of the things we didn't talk a lot about is when you start with a law firm and you've had an auto accident, you have the potential to hire that law firm to represent you for your injuries and for that claim for your injuries. You also have the potential to hire that law firm to help you with your auto insurance no fault benefits. Tom and I feel very strongly that in the beginning, especially when your auto insurance just needs you to fill out a form, to get going, to learn about your doctors, to learn about your work, and they start paying voluntarily your benefits, it's almost criminal in our minds to take a fee to do that for you or to help you with that. We don't do that unless you absolutely demand it. We certainly know how to do it. But what we also don't do is say, you didn't hire us for that. We counsel you, we explain to you, and I shouldn't say we as much as Tom does a big bulk of that. He explains to you, he makes sure you're not going to do anything wrong in setting up your claim. He insists on sitting there when the insurance company calls you a month or two in and says, "We want to take your statement under oath." Tom says, "Tell him to call me." He sets it up so he can be there. He counsels you before that meeting and explains it. When your insurance company sends you a notice that you have to see one of our doctors, Tom and I know that 9 times out of 10, that doctor's not going to give a favorable opinion to you. They're going to give a favorable opinion to the one that hired them, the insurance company, as to why maybe they should limit your benefits they're paying or deny you altogether. What does Tom do? He sets up a call with the client. He sends them an email before that call. He explains to them what to do and what not to do at that appointment. He then follows that up with that phone call and he explains it over the phone call. Tom does those types of things that makes a business owner sleep at night and makes me know that Raitt Law is by far and away the best law firm you can go to if you're involved in a personal injury, crash, accident, slip and fall, whatever it may be. That's just another factor that we recently added when Tom came over to us at the beginning of this year. And I, as the owner, could not be happier. So you're going to get a lot with us. It's all based really on our experience, if it comes right down to it, of what we've seen that works and what it doesn't work. Because I can guarantee you, when we both started practicing, we did things a lot differently. But trial and error, you learn a lot. And I tell you what, there's not going to be another firm out there that you're going to get the personal touch combined with the experience both in litigating cases and in the legal world and the various organizations. And what that means is we're respected by everyone. And that's important to you in the end. Anything else to add to this long
Absolutely.
talk?
I guess I mean I appreciate all the nice words, but he keeps saying Tom, but we know it's Bobby and Tom, right? I mean, Bobby's making the phone calls. Bobby's doing. It's not just me doing everything. I
We
appreciate that
each do what
though,
we do
but
well. We each do what we do well, and that's what makes it work.
and but it's probably a combination of a couple different things that really sets us apart. Obviously the experience sets us apart, and our knowledge base, right, our tactical way of handling cases, of working against sides, and to get you the most recovery. But I, I think it even goes deeper than, right, being technically good, in that we care, and you're going to feel it. Or at least I believe you're going to feel it, because that's what clients have come back and told me. Especially, I've always tried to practice this way for 19 years or 20 years. I always tried to practice in a way where I was able to spend a lot of time and learn about everything that our clients going through, and then we're able to teach, right, whoever is on the other side, or whether it's a jury or a judge, what our clients are going through. It's just, when you have 400 clients, it's hard, right? It's hard. There just isn't enough time in the day. And it's upsetting when we can't get to that. And we both experience something very similar. But now we have I have some control over cases that we accept, and cases that we don't accept. And as Bobby was saying earlier, we limit the number of cases that we take so that we can keep this personal touch, so that we have empathy, and we have the ability to show it when our case count and our client count is kept to a manageable portion. And I really appreciate that, right? It's probably the biggest shift that I've noticed since coming over here in January, and it's made a world of difference in how I sleep at night. I mean, everything, right? In how I come home, and I'm not grumpy or salty with my family, because I'm proud of what I do every day. I'm proud that, and I'm happy that Bobby gave me this opportunity to come join him and help people in this manner, which I just didn't have that opportunity before. And it's making not only the difference in my professional life, but it's making a difference in my personal life. And I really appreciate it. So thanks. I know I've said thanks a bunch of times.
I appreciate that. And let me end with a story that'll kind of sum up a lot of what we're saying, both about really about Tom, but also about me and about our compassion and the way we think about our clients. I have someone I know. She came to me after she lost her son in a tragic incident. Her and her husband felt someone else was very much accountable for the tragedy that occurred. That person called me and said that she was angry at how this happened, and she thought there might be an avenue for a lawsuit because of how it happened. And I talked to her for a while, and Tom and I visited her and her husband, this young man's father, at their home. And I had an appointment following that. So I sat with Tom and the parents, and I went over, I gave my talk to them, and Tom then, kind of honed in on some of the important points and things. And I had to go, and Tom stayed, and Tom thought it was important to see this young man's bedroom, sort of personalize things with the family. And Tom and I both knew the whole time, as they were talking about what happened, that given our knowledge of the law, there probably wasn't a liability case. We probably couldn't find negligence or fault against the entity that the parents were so mad with. And we didn't tell them flat out that. What we told them is, this is going to be tough, but we're going to go to work. We're going to research this, and we're going to make sure that if we have to come back to you and tell you we just don't have a potential case here, that we know that for a fact. And true to what we thought, Tom did the research, and we didn't think there was a way in hell that if we pursued a claim and then a lawsuit, that we weren't going to get thrown out on the law. But that didn't end it. Tom and I met, we talked, and Tom had a couple ideas. And there was a very good attorney that we both know and both have had very favorable experiences with over the years that got in touch with us for this facility. And we got some videos and things, and we looked at everything to make sure we knew what we were talking about when we counsel the family. And Tom's idea was that we meet with that attorney and talk about options. And we talked about options. We talked about how upset the family was. We talked about the fact that this was a terrible tragedy. We talked about the fact that we did think we had some avenues for potential recovery, but we wanted to talk to this attorney first to make sure we didn't just go, straight into a lawsuit. And one of Tom's ideas was that the company that we believe was at fault and that the family very strongly believed was at fault could pay for a charity that would be meaningful to the family. And that was one of a couple different things we thought that they could do. And just recently, in fact, yesterday, I heard from the attorney that this company is willing to do that. And I called up the mother, and it's a very hard conversation. She lost her, I think he was 28 years old. It's a very hard conversation to have. She's smart, though, and she understood. And she wanted to answer right away. I said, I don't want to hear an answer. Talk. Her husband was on the speakerphone. I said, you guys talk. Call me with any questions whatsoever. And next Monday or Tuesday, call me with a final decision. And one of the things she wanted to know was she is in the early process of setting up a nonprofit charity for the loss of her son. And she wanted to know if this money could go to that charity. And I reached out to the attorney and he said, let's see if we agree on the principal, settlement. And if that's the case, we'll broach that subject, but it shouldn't be a problem. And I called to let her know, and they're thinking about it. And she said to me, there's only one problem with this, Bobby. How do you guys get paid? And I said, we're not getting paid. What did we do? She said, what do you mean? You researched, you met with us, you spent the time. Tom was here for a long time. You guys were great. And I said, it's what we do. You lost your son. Don't worry about us getting paid. If we can get some money into this charity, especially this charity that you are going to form, that means everything to us. And if it makes you happy, that's how we're getting paid. And she started to cry and she thanked me. And I think that represents a good story about who Tom and I are and what we do and how we care. It also shows you that we're well connected, because I don't know if there's a lot of attorneys that could just call up this defense attorney and set up a meeting and get what we really wanted, because we knew there wasn't going to be any money. We knew there wasn't going to be any successful lawsuit. But the fact that they're donating this money to this charity, and it is confidential, it's not a lot of money by any stake, but it is something. It's a token. And it means a lot to us that this young lady called us about her son and sat with us and talked to us. And it means even more that we were able to help in some way. And no, we're not taking money for it, because it made all the difference in the world that we made her happy. So I think that explains a little bit about it. And I, for one, want to thank all of you for tuning in. This is the last episode in this series for First Raitt Law podcast. Again, we tell you every time, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Either use our 866 RAITT LAW Raitt Law phone number, or go to our website, www.firstraittlaw.com. So for Bobby Raitt, thank you for tuning in. Tom, you want to say goodbye to the people?
Say goodbye. No, I appreciate everyone's time, right? I know that these are not short podcasts, but hopefully they provide you with some valuable material, right? Valuable insights on how we do things, how the law is, everything is situated. And then absolutely follow up with us, and we'll answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.